I inform Parliament that the Secretary-General of the United Nations, His Excellency Mr. António Guterres, is in the President of the Parliament. With the concurrence of the honourable members, I invite the Secretary-General of United Nations to be seated on the floor of the Parliament. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Mess may be seated. Your Excellency, Mr. António Guterres, Secretary-General of the United Nations, honourable members of Parliament, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the members of Parliament and the people of Papua New Guinea, it is my great honour and pleasure to warmly welcome you, Your Excellency, to our National Parliament. Today is a historical day for our Parliament and for the strong relationship between Papua New Guinea and the United Nations. It is a rare and special honour to host the United Nations General Secretary-General in this chamber, the heart of our democracy and the voice of our people. Your presence reaffirms the core values of United Nations: peace, dignity, equality, and respect for all. These values are also central to our own national goals and are reflected of the foundation of our democracy. Papua New Guinea is recognized as one of the Pacific's most vibrant democracies. Since our independence in 1975, we have been guided by a strong constitution that protects our rights and supports the rule of law and upholds the democratic governance. One of the strengths of our democracy is the high level of political participation across our culturally diverse population. With over 800 languages and strong community traditions, our political system is both inclusive and locally grounded. Voters turn out in high, and we take pride in holding regular competitive elections and peaceful transfer of power. Our Constitution protects the freedom of speech, associations, and political expressions, while also respecting customary laws and cultural heritage. Independent institutions like the Ombudsman Commission and the judiciary play roles in promoting accountability, transparency, and good governance. We acknowledge that our democracy faces challenges such as political instability, corruption, and difficulties in reaching remote areas. However, our commitment to democratic principles remains strong. Civil society, the media, the grassroots movements are vital in keeping our democracy active and responsive. Your Excellency, as you prepare to address this House, we look forward to your message, one that we hope will inspire and guide us in our work as lawmakers and national leaders. May your visit strengthen the partnership between Papua New Guinea and the United Nations and reaffirm our shared commitment to peace, justice, and human dignity. Once again, we warmly and respectfully welcome you to our Parliament and to our country. Thank you very much. Honorable members, I now invited the Secretary-General of the United Nations, His Excellency, Mr. António Guterres, to make his speech.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Members of Parliament, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Good Pella morning through Olgeta. Allow me to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Motu Koita people of the Port Moresby area, Daba Namona. It is a profound honor to be with you today and a privilege to be the first serving Secretary-General of the United Nations to visit Papua New Guinea. I have not been here long, but I am already deeply inspired by the majesty of your landscapes, the richness of your cultures, and the warmth of your welcome. Thank you. I am especially proud to be here as you mark 50 years of independence and to do so with you, the proud representatives of the people of Papua New Guinea. And allow me a personal observation. I was 17 years member of Parliament, and afterwards, during 6 years and a half, I was elected Prime Minister, but in our system, the Prime Minister must suspend his seat in Parliament and be replaced by an alternate. And as we do not have, in several periods, a very stable democratic situation, it has happened that the President, that has no powers in governing the country, can dismiss Parliament. So our Parliament was dismissed several times, and 7 times I had to be elected. And this creates me an enormous admiration for the distinguished members of this Parliament, because it was relatively easy for me, when elected, to go to my constituency during my mandate. But I know for many of you, you have to be working with the people of constituencies that are very far away, in very remote locations, but keep the strong meaning of the democratic connection between the people and the members of Parliament. Congratulations on your very strong commitment. And allow me to say that I feel doubly at home being here. First, I feel at home because of the warm welcome that I received. I was deeply grateful yesterday because of the very warm and fraternal way I was received. But the second reason is because I was myself, for the largest period in my different functions in life, member of a Parliament. So if you allow me, Your Excellencies, I ask you to allow me to call you dear colleagues. You are my one-talks. Papua New Guinea is a country of tremendous diversity, a land of over 800 languages and countless traditions. And yet, you have a shared commitment to speak with one voice, to having one talk for peace, for dignity, and for progress. You are the champions of multilateralism and international solutions, and that spirit is urgently needed in our world today. Honourable members of Parliament, we meet at a time of global turmoil. Progress against poverty has stalled. Barbarous conflicts unfold on live stream. The climate crisis is accelerating, with extreme weather and rising sea levels threatening communities around the globe affect the people of Papua New Guinea know all too well. Geopolitical tensions, runaway technologies, growing inequalities, and shrinking democratic space have converged into a volatile new global reality. In the face of these storms, Papua New Guinea offers a number of powerful lessons to the world. The first is the art of forging consensus through dialogue. For the past half-century, you have worked to have a single nation, out of many traditions, many islands, many tongues. One people, one nation, one country. Of course, that task is not easy, but you are determined to move forward step by step. Last Saturday marked the 21st anniversary of the Bougainville Peace Agreement. This conflict left deep scars, but for more than 2 decades, Papua New Guinea and Bougainville have stayed the course of peace. You have shown the world the path of healing through dialogue, perseverance, and mutual respect. Tomorrow, Bougainvilleans will cast their votes in the 5th autonomous election since the agreement. I would like to salute the President of Bougainville, who is with us here today. Thank you for your commitment to these noble efforts. The Melanesian Agreement, signed in June, exemplifies both parties' willingness to engage in the difficult conversations, and the United Nations has been honoured to be part of this process. Our Peacebuilding Fund has supported weapons disposal, the 2019 referendum, and the work of the independent moderator in a close partnership with the governments of Bougainville and Papua New Guinea. We are also proud to work in partnership with women, youth and civil society throughout Bougainville. Your continued dialogue offers a model to other countries, and I am confident that the next phase will deliver a lasting resolution to the mutual benefit of all. Papua New Guinea's newly adopted national prevention strategy further affirms your commitment to ending violence for all. I look forward to visiting the highlands tomorrow, where the Peacebuilding Fund, together with the UN Country Fund, is investing in your efforts to resolve conflict, engage youth, and support internally displaced people. Papua New Guinea is a dynamic partner. Our efforts together include everything from advancing healthcare to sustainable agriculture, providing life-saving assistance to those impacted by landslides, and collaborating on anti-corruption trainings for public services and the judiciary. You understand that success is not measured in economic growth alone, but by delivering for those hardest to reach. To reduce inequalities, expand opportunity, ensure safety and security, and leave no one behind, we are with you every step of the way. The United Nations has not an agenda in Papua New Guinea. Our agenda is to support the government and the people of Papua New Guinea according to your strategies, according to your policies, and according to the decisions you take in relation to the development of your country. Excellencies, honourable parliamentarians, the second lesson you offer to the world is bold climate action. Time and again, we have seen climate leadership flow not from countries with the most wealth and power, but from those who know the stakes firsthand. The Pacific Islands are ground zero for the impacts of climate change, and Papua New Guinea is home to 2 out of the 3 Pacific citizens. You are also home to 7% of the world's biodiversity and some of the largest coral reefs and rainforests of the planet. We must be ever vigilant in safeguarding these crucial ecosystems and we have made the case that national protection deserves global support. You have emphasized that climate change is a driver of poverty and been a strong moral voice for climate finance. This is my first trip to the Pacific since the landmark advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice, in which the region played a central role. That opinion affirms that addressing the climate crisis is a legal obligation under international law. And it builds on your pioneering work on sea level rise as part of the Pacific Island Forum. And is a testament to the leadership of Papua New Guinea, Melanesia, and the wider Pacific region, particularly your young people, who make up 60% of your population. Your voice will be integral again during the annual UN Climate Conference in Belém, Brazil. The 1.5 degree limit is in jeopardy. The science tells us it is still possible, but we do not have a moment to lose. The clock is ticking for countries to submit their new national climate plans, or NDCs. And these plans offer the chance to plot a just transition and seize the opportunities of the renewables revolution. They must align with the 1.5 degree limit as promised, cover all emissions across the entire economy, and accelerate the transition away from fossil fuels. We must push all countries to deliver. Papua New Guinea does not contribute to climate change. You are even a carbon sink country. And so, it's particularly the G20 who together account for 80% of global emissions that have a special responsibility in the present moment. And they must present their new plans at a special event I will host in New York later this month, fully aligned with the objective of keeping the 1.5 degrees as the limit of global warming. And we must also push for a step change on climate finance. And this includes significantly increased contributions to the new fund for responding to loss and damage, including from innovative sources. Allow me again to tell you a remarkable true story that shows how difficult it is to force developed countries to commit to, with their resources, to our common goal in climate action. When the Loss and Damage Fund was formed was decided in the COP in Dubai, there was a first pledging conference. The amounts pledged, especially by developed countries, were equivalent to the contract of the best played American basketball player. And that shows that indeed a lot must be done to make the Loss and Damage Fund a reality, able to support countries like yours. We must tell developed countries that this is not the time for petty contributions. We must find innovative forms of financing, putting levies on fossil fuels, putting levels on transportation, doing maritime transportation, doing other forms of collecting funds, but we absolutely must create the conditions for a country like yours to have the necessary resources to face the negative impacts of climate change. And you can count with the voice of the UN to be entirely at your side. I look indeed for your continued strong leadership in New York, in Brazil, and beyond. And developed countries must honor their promises to double adaptation finance by this year and deliver 300 billion a year by 2035. Adaptation is for us today a fundamental priority. Obviously, we must reduce emissions. We must have a drastic reduction in emissions now. But we cannot forget that people is already suffering the impacts of climate change. And when we see the sea level rising, when we see the impact on glaciers, when we see the impact on coral reefs, we understand the impact on populations, namely in coastal areas. We understand the need to have a much stronger solidarity internationally to support a country like yours, to build the necessary infrastructure, to build the necessary mechanisms to increase the resilience, to resist the dramatic impacts of climate change. And we are in total solidarity to Papua New Guinea to tell the international community that much more must be put in place to support developing countries in adaptation. Excellencies, while climate finance is vital, it is not sufficient on its own. Many developing countries are drowning in unsustainable debt, victims of inequalities built into the system. Today's international financial architecture is unequal and unjust. We will keep pushing for meaningful reforms to ensure the fair representation of developing countries, to take real action on debt relief, to triple the lending capacity of multilateral development banks, and to mobilize private capital at scale. When the Security Council of the United Nations or the IMF or the World Bank were created, Papua New Guinea was not yet independent. And together with Papua New Guinea, tens and tens of countries around the world were not yet independent. So their voices were not heard, which means that the institutions that are central in the management of global finance, as the institution that is central in the question of peace, the Security Council, do not represent the world of today. They represent the world of 1945. And in 1945, we had essentially developed countries running the show. And so these institutions largely are operating in the context of a system that favors developed countries and that creates obstacles to the capacity of developing countries to really provide to their citizens all the things they are entitled to receive in a modern world. And you can count on our total commitment to go on fighting for a reform of these institutions in order for developing countries to have representation, voice, but also effective access to the resources they need to move forward with their plans. Excellencies, Papua New Guinea has set itself a powerful mission to be one people and one nation and one country and to leave no one behind. Not long ago, you hosted peacekeepers. Today you are a champion of peace building and sustainable development. But no story of peace or progress is complete without fully including half of the population. This is another area where you have the opportunity to set a global example. 5 years ago, the UN Deputy Secretary-General launched the Spotlight Initiative on Papua New Guinea, part of the world's largest effort to end all forms of violence against women and girls. No society is immune from this challenge, and in Papua New Guinea, 2 out of 3 women experience gender-based violence. The solutions here, like everywhere, began with the hard conversations about systemic and cultural barriers. I had that experience in my own country. When I was in government, family violence was a serious problem, but it was an ignored problem. Nobody would talk about it. And the police would not pay attention, the judiciary would not act, and of course the problem would not be solved. And it was necessary to have a very determined program of action to try to reverse this trend. Now, I know that in March this year, this Parliament devoted an entire day to testimonies on gender-based violence. You took the vital step of speaking openly, of making commitments, and of forming the Parliamentary Committee on Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment. Across politics, culture and every sector, we must keep working to widen the doors of opportunity for women and girls in Papua New Guinea and in the world at large. Ensuring greater voice and representation of women is not only a matter of justice, it is a matter of national strength. Families thrive, communities grow stronger, and institutions become more responsive when we uphold the rights of all. The launch of your national human rights strategy is a prime example of your recognition of these truths, and I commend your pledge to establish a National Human Rights Commission. The people of New Guinea enjoys a democracy, and a democracy that reflects every citizen. And the United Nations is proud to support young people, persons with disabilities and women to foster a culture of dignity for all. I commend the courage and resilience of the women of Papua New Guinea and look forward to hearing their stories over the coming days. Honourable Members of Parliament, this year the United Nations also marks anniversary, our 80th. And on the other hand, speaking of anniversaries, you have not only 50 years of independence, you have 50 years of democracy. And that is another very strong bond with myself. Our democratic revolution was in 74, and our first constitutional government in 76, which means that we were 51 years or 49 years with a democracy. Taking an average, 50 years of democracy. So there is this very strong link between Papua New Guinea and Portugal. We were able to, after independence or after dictatorship, build a solid democracy that has been for 50 years a demonstration of the power of the people. Thank you very much for your example. We are now, in the context of our commemorations of the 80 years of the United Nations, we are launching a process called UN 80, our effort to strengthen our organization for the 21st century. And an essential part of that is ensuring that the voices of the Pacific are heard loud and clear throughout the multilateral system. On your anniversary, you took look to the future. In just 50 years, Papua New Guinea has undertaken a daunting task to forge a single nation from profound diversity. That is a journey with peaks and valleys like the highlands themselves. It is a path that demands courage and vision to walk. And the United Nations is proud to accompany you and to be in total solidarity with you on every step. Your story is a proof that when embraced with shared purpose and respect, our differences can be our greatest strengths. One talks, let's keep talking. For your people, for our planet, and for our shared future. Thank you, Tumas Olgeta.
Honourable members, I now will ask the Honourable Prime Minister to make his response.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, honourable members of Parliament, our distinguished Chief Guest, His Excellency Mr. António Guterres, Secretary-General of the United Nations, fellow guests of our nation's Parliament, including our children of Papua New Guinea sitting at the public gallery, fellow citizens. Today this House has the greatest honour of welcoming His Excellency Mr. António Guterres, Secretary-General of the United Nations, to the Parliament of Papua New Guinea. Sir, you are most welcome to our land and to this people's house. Your visit affirms the enduring partnership between Papua New Guinea and the United Nations family. Your speech today embraces Papua New Guinea, and for this I say thank you. Papua New Guinea is often described as the most linguistically diverse nation on earth. Our valleys, islands, and atolls are home to over 800 living languages, a reflection of our geography and our long, proud civilizations. This linguistic richness is not simply a statistic. It is a living archive of human knowledge, creativity, and community. Our story did not begin in 1975, Mr. Secretary-General. Long before there was a modern statehood, our people built complex societies, traded along coastlines and mountain corridors, and governed themselves through customary systems. In the highlands, the Cook early agricultural site, recognized by UNESCO, shows evidence of wetland reclamation and cultivation stretching back to over 7,000 years, possibly 10,000 years, reminding the world that organized agriculture and innovation took deep roots here in antiquity. We also honor the traditions that shaped our modern economy and identity. The kin and toya, whose names recall our traditional money, our traditional currency, once used along our islands, spoke to the vibrant exchanges that took place amongst our communities long before there were contemporary markets. These are not relics, they are threads that lie ancient ingenuity to our modern aspirations. Mr. Speaker, our modern nation emerged from a unique colonial administration and a United Nations trusteeship over the territory of New Guinea, stewarded in partnership with Australia until independence at 1975. And so our bond with UN is therefore foundational, lest all of us forget. On October 10, 1975, barely weeks after our flag was raised, the United Nations General Assembly admitted Papua New Guinea as a full member. That decision placed us within the international community with equal dignity and responsibility. Since independence on 16 September 1975, Mr. Speaker, and say, I'd like to report to you, despite our fragilities, we have preserved our constitutional democracy through successive parliaments and peaceful transitions of power. That is something no one can take from us. This parliament is an embodiment of diversity but unity, and democracy and constitution that has anchored our unity since 1975. And at 2025, I must admit, I'm first to admit, that we have not yet fully met all our aspirations, especially for human development. But one thing is certain. We know the distance that we have traveled and where we must travel into in as far as finding education, health, employment, and safety and dignity for our women and girls, and development of all our country, all parts of our country, leaving no place behind. Our direction is clear. We will leave no child or community, no province, and including our special region of Bougainville behind, as we open the pathways to a modern, inclusive economy. Your Excellency, our partnership with the United Nations has been tested and strengthened in moments of national consequence. The UN stood with us through the Bougainville peace process, for instance, first through the United Nations political office in Bougainville, later the United Nations Observer Mission in Bougainville, helping to monitor the ceasefire, oversee the weapons disposal, and support the birth of the autonomous Bougainville government in 2005. The Security Council marked that a milestone as mission accomplished when the mandate concluded. In recent years, the UN systems have supported both the national government, the autonomous Bougainville government with referendum and post-referendum dialogue and public information. Following the 2019 referendum, a process carried out peacefully and credibly with technical and volunteer support facilitated through UN with the support of the peace building funds. This partnership shows the UN's enduring commitment in sustaining peace beyond signing of agreements. The UN has also been our steadfast partner in public health. When polio, for instance, re-emerged in 2018, the government, WHO, UNICEF, and partners mobilized a nationwide immunization, reaching over 3 million people, especially children, and extinguishing the transmission through collective action. UN also stood fast with us during the COVID-19 examples of your care. In the face of El Nino-driven drought and frost from 2015 onwards, the World Food Programme and the UN country team helped us assess needs, reach remote communities, and strengthen food security and logistics. This humanitarian arm-in-arm work has saved lives and built resilience in hard-to-reach places. Only last year and this year, the UN has supported disaster response and protection of displaced communities after the Enga Mai Mulitaka landslide, helping coordinate assistance, advocating safe and dignified relocations, and working with our provincial government and national authorities. Our development partnership has matured under the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2024 to 2028. The UN country team is aligning its programs with our national priority across the humanitarian, development, and peace nexus. Accelerating towards the 2030 agenda, Papua New Guinea's voluntary national review that happened in 2020 began a cycle of accountability to our citizens and to the world, and we are determined that future reporting will show concrete gains in learning, health, livelihoods, equality, and climate resilience. Your Excellency, we are custodian of 7% of world's biodiversity and steward of vast forests and rich marine ecosystems that, as you correctly alluded to, are global carbon sinks. Our development pathway will be green, resilient, and inclusive. We will grow our economy and jobs while safeguarding forests, oceans, and culture. Our PNG development model that does not compromise our environmental stewardship. Accordingly, my government has set 2 clear benchmarks. By 2030, to lift Papua New Guinea to a 200 billion kina economy, and within the next decade, 2 decades rather, to progress towards a 500 billion kina economy with growth anchored in clean energy, responsible resources harvest, high-value agriculture, climate-smart infrastructure, and digital inclusion. Should I add on here, Mr. Secretary-General, for us right now, it is not aid but trade we are in search of. These are not just numbers. They are the means by which every child learns, every mother survives childbirth, every community is connected, and every entrepreneur, especially our SMEs and rural households, can thrive. This is the spirit of Vision 2050, our nation set out by the father of the country in 2010. And I want to say thank you for choosing to visit this battle site in Wewak tomorrow. That vision sets out that by 2050, we want to be smart, wise, fair, and happy society. To achieve this, we seek to deepen cooperation with the United Nations system, especially in key 5 areas. Firstly, education and human capital, from early childhood to tertiary and Tibet, so that every child can read, compute, and create. Secondly, we want primary and modern healthcare and resilient systems, continuing the strong WHO-UNICEF partnership that defeated polio and strengthening immunization, WASH, and maternal healthcare nationwide. Thirdly, women's safety and leadership remains our core priority, ending gender-based violence, sorcery accusation, related violence, supporting disability inclusion, areas where UN has been a vocal and practical support in Papua New Guinea. Fourthly, climate resilience and nature-positive growth, aligning with UN frameworks and the ICG's recent climate obligations opinion that underscores the human right basis for climate action, as stands the UN and PNG has echoed and supported. We say thank you very much for your leadership and voice in this space. And lastly but not the least, peace building and governance, including continued accompaniment of the post-referendum Bougainville process, electoral integrity, service delivery to remote and conflicted areas, and making sure no part of our country is left behind. Mr. Secretary-General, we value your global leadership and your advocacies, which all resonates with our national aspirations. Mr. Speaker, two of His Excellency's notable fronts are worth mentioning here that deeply resonates with our advocacy. Firstly, the climate action and biodiversity conservation must be financed at scale and speed, placing a true premium on standing forests and healthy oceans. For countries that protect the planet's lung and blue carbon, value must flow to our people and local communities, commensurating the global asset we have. Secondly, that the international financial architecture must be reformed so that vulnerable climate-exposed economies can invest in development without drowning in debt, that concessional windows, emergency liquidity, and innovative instruments reach those who need them when they need them the most. Here in PNG, we will do our part. Our government will support a honest report on our SDG progress in 2030 and continue strengthening institutions of accountability, policing, justice, and oversight so rights are protected and services reach every citizen. We will hardwire connectivity by road, air, sea, and fiber, so that remoteness is no barrier to opportunity. Mr. Deputy Speaker, over the weekend I took a drive that's never driven before since creation, over 300 kilometers of new road into places never connected before, and people there said, we have land, our agriculture is here, thank you for the road. And we give commitment to unlock our rural communities so that they can participate in modern cash crop economy and SMEs, so growth is felt not just in the urban areas, but village economies and villages, so that village cash flows and family balance sheets are improved. Mr. Speaker, honourable members, and Your Excellency, the UN PNG partnership is not abstract. It is visible in vaccination cards held by a child, in food deliveries to drought-hit hamlets, in safe shelters after landslide, and in the patient work of dialogue that keeps hard-won peace. That is multilateralism. That is what multilateralism means at the last mile in our country. Therefore, on behalf of this House and the 10 million people of Papua New Guinea, I extend to you, Excellency, Secretary-General, say our greatest gratitude for your leadership and your commitment to be a constructive, solution-focused partner, and we too, likewise from Port Moresby, we reach to you at New York that we will be a committed partner, and from within ourselves in our country, from the diversity we have, blending a symphony of oneness, unity amidst diversity as one people, one nation, one country will together maintain the focus of our democracy laid out in our Constitution of 1975. May God bless you, His Excellency António Guterres. May God bless the United Nations. And may God bless our one big human family. May God bless Papua New Guinea. I want to wish you a safe stay in PNG. We will give you a simple hospitality. Thank you for choosing to visit rural PNG. Tomorrow we are stepping into Wewak to pay respect to the father of our nation, and it means a lot when you choose to travel out to respect our late great Chief Sir Michael Somare, representing the foundational leaders who laid this country together. And I want to say thank you for also choosing to visit remote Nuku, a hotspot of biodiversity, representing our shared vision that biodiversity must be preserved, forestry must be preserved, oceans must be preserved in its natural state. I want to appreciate you for your energy to fly with me into Hagen to meet again provincial government and the work of United Nations in peace building up there. And so I say thank you very much. Thank you through Taniki Badaheria. May God bless you. May God bless our people. Thank you for listening.
Honorable Honorable members, the Secretary-General of the United Nations will now retire. You may all be seated. Leader of Government Business.
Respected Speaker, I move that Parliament do now adjourn.
The question is that the Parliament do now adjourn. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Honourable members, I now adjourn Parliament until Tuesday, 28 October at 2 o'clock p.m.